Welcome to House. Welcome to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and we'll have Gilbert Manzano joining us in a few minutes as he wraps up watching Packers Bears at halftime there. So he'll join us soon. But we have a post game show here for you as the Rams survive and advance, beating the Panthers 34-31. One of the things that I took away from this game was the fact that, in boxing, there's a term called styles make fights. And I just feel like the Panthers were the type of style that the Rams just struggle with this season, where they had two good cornerbacks and, offensively, they just had, these big receivers that gave the Rams secondary fits. And shout out to Dave Canales because he did a great job of scheming things up in this, and so did at one point I thought Evero for the defensive coordinator for the Panthers was out coaching McVay there. There was a couple of just I didn't understand why McVay wouldn't go to the 13 personnel. He just was insistent on staying in 11 personnel, having Devontae Adams and Puka Nakua on the field, and it almost cost him there. Luckily, Matthew Stafford was clutch there on that throw to Colby Parkinson's to give the Rams the win here and escape with the win. Matthew Stafford was just he went through that bad period there after he got his hand injured, hitting I think either an arm, or at first I thought it was a helmet, but it looked like it was an arm there. So but he was clutch in this game down the stretch, and finished 24-42 for 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Kyron Williams, 13 carries, 1 receiving touchdown. You had Blake Corum with 11 carries for 45 yards. Puka Nacua, he might have had 10 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown, but his and 1 rushing touchdown, but his biggest role here was making sure that that wasn't an interception by Nick Scott. He might have had the save of the season. If he doesn't pull that ball away from Nick Scott, we'd be talking about the Rams coming home with a loss here. But Gilbert seems to be ready here, so let's get him on here. I want to get his thoughts, see where he's at with this with what happened tonight be in this matchup. Let me just fix a couple of things here. That's not the one, it's this one, and there we go. Hey Gilbert, how are you doing, sir? Happy to have you on here. Let's start off just with your takeaways from this Rams survival of a win over the Panthers as they move on, and a wait to see who they're going to face in the divisional round.
Yeah, that was a fun game. Before I get to the bad, I just want to say that was a really entertaining game to open the NFL 2026 playoffs. And man, I think the Rams, and if you're a fan of the Rams, you should be very fortunate to have Matthew Stafford on your side. Number nine, not JJ McCarthy, the real number nine is in LA. What a perfect pass to Kobe Parkinson there to go above the head of Amorik, the safety for the Panthers. Put it outside where only he could get it. And the reason why I really like that touchdown pass, obviously, it's an unreal throw, but I think Stafford was having some good battles with those corners. Those are some very feisty, smart cornerbacks. And, I don't think Sean McVay was doing him any favors by having him attack the corners like JC Horn and Mike Jackson. And obviously that pass was against a safety. But, I think the reason why McVay was just kept calling the number for number nine to go against the secondary that's very good for the Panthers is because Stafford is just that good. And when things are just going so bad and you still have the ball and you still have time on the clock, it's never over because Stafford is that good. So I just wanted to highlight, man, how fun and how special it is watching Matthew Stafford. Now, there's a lot to unpack here. Defensively, they almost ruined it. Coaching, they almost ruined. Uh, I did not understand McVay not going with the beefier personnel, with the more tight ends. And I think it took him maybe, 3 quarters, I want to say, to figure out,
Yes.
okay, We're
in the
down
fourth
here
quarter.
24-20. Let's start using more 13 personnel. What got us here? More tight ends, more running backs, more Kyron Williams. I didn't see much of Blake Corum. So, uh, and read my story at si.com, and I'll end out here. My point is, and what I wrote in my story right now for on the Matthew Stafford column that I wrote is, I get it, Les Need. I see the light now. I see why you spend very little on your defense, because I spent, Victor, maybe 50 minutes of regulation of that game saying, you blew it, Les Need. You cheaped out on the secondary. This defense sucks. The linebackers are not good. The cornerbacks, the safeties are terrible. You ruined it. You cheaped out. And then Stafford does what he does. And I get it. I get why you get 4 tight ends. I get why you get 2 running backs. I get why you pay a premium for 2 wide receivers, because Stafford and McVay could all make it work. And like say the Bengals, the Bengals have tried that. Going all offense, they can't do it. Cowboys, they go all offense, they can't do it. Only the Rams could do it because you have number 9 and McVay on your side. So, I'm done, complaining and whining about the secondary because they almost blew it today, but still offense prevailed. And that's the end of my point here because, man, that secondary was terrible, 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 but they still won the game.
Yeah, and I started the show, Gilbert, right before you hopped on about giving and talking about, a boxing. You're a big boxing fan, and I just thought that, there's a great term when it comes to boxing called styles make fights, right? And it just feels like the Carolina Panthers style just gives this Rams team fits. And as I mentioned, the big wide receivers are going to give this smaller secondary fits. Defensively, they have those 2 cornerbacks. Outside of the Eagles having those 2 all-pro cornerbacks,
Yeah.
I don't think you might see that again. And so that and the fact that you got to see this early and struggle early here to start the playoffs might be a blessing for the Rams, because now everybody's going to be like, well, they struggle against the Panthers, so how should we trust this team? But one of the things with how chaotic this season has gone, Gilbert, we've seen it all over the every team here in the playoffs. It's going to come down to style and whether or not you can just survive in advance. And I get it. I understand. I'm with you. I'm critical of the secondary. I'm critical of special teams. Like the fact that you had gaps at every single phase of this team and you still won, as you mentioned, it goes back to the fact that you have a great head coach and a great quarterback to be able to compensate for that.
Yeah, these are great points by you, Victor. And the one thing about us always keeping it real, even when things seem like we're so negative, we always talk about the bad things. It's like when we give you the positive, it's not BS. It's not us looking for some kind of positivity here. Like, yeah, the game was ugly. Yeah, they almost lost to an 89 team Panthers team. But you're right, Vic. Sometimes it's about matchups. Sometimes, like you mentioned, styles make fights and the Panthers like are just familiar with this team. Like, look at the whole roster in Carolina. The DC
Yeah,
Evero coach with the Rams. He knows what they want. The head coach Dave Canales was in the NFC West for so many years before he went to Tampa Bay and Seattle. There's Nick Scott there who put that hit there on Devontae. It was an illegal hit, by the way. And then you even got guys like Christian Roseboom on that defense. They know this team very well. And the thing, I don't see this very often in football where a coach is pretty much saying, "Hey, I don't care if you play YOLO football." Usually, when you throw that many passes down the field, you're gonna get picked off 3 to 4 times. And Dave Canales had pretty much said, "Bryce Young, you got the green light to pick apart the secondary. They're not good. Like they knew this team inside out. Like it's not that hard. Like Bryce Young, I get for all like." And I don't want to take anything away from Bryce Young. Bryce Young played a great game, but against any other team, he might struggle because the secondary is just that bad. His left tackle, which you reminded me about, Vic, left in the first quarter, and he was still standing there and just throwing 10 plus, 10 plus, 10 plus yard passes. Jalen Coker, Ted McMillan, he did whatever he wanted. But it's just the matchup. It's they exposed a weakness. It was good
yeah.
coaching, and it's very familiar. But say you play the Packers next week, or you play the 49ers, like it's just they're different matchups. So to me, I think you should stop harping on a close game against a team with a losing record, and look at the sample size. That's 2 games. They just have your number. Like, just treat them like they're like the Seahawks, because it is what it is. Some teams just have your number. I could probably go down the list of all the good teams that just struggle against a certain bad team. It's the NFL, but hey, let's give the Panthers their credit. They know what works and what doesn't work for LA, and they expose it. And now on the flip side, for the negativity, Sean McVay was stubborn. He instead of going for a weakness in Carolina, he attacked their strength, which is the cornerbacks, J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson, and until the maybe beginning of the fourth quarter was like, all right, we'll go against their strength. Like, show that team respect, Sean McVay. Show them that, yeah, their defense, but the running game is, not great. They don't have a lot of linebackers. They don't have a lot of edge rushers. So why not attack other parts of the field instead of the cornerbacks? It was a little late, but hey, they figure it out. But to me, it was just coaching. They ran circles against him. Dave Canales and Evero against Sean McVay and Chris Shula here. So, and then one more thing that we've kept it real. That front, again, nowhere to be found. I get that Jared Verse and Byron Young are Pro Bowlers, but they haven't stepped up in I don't know how long. Byron Young got those sacks early on in the first quarter of the season. Hasn't really done much. He's done more than Jared Verse. I don't get it, Vic. Maybe I got to look at the PFF numbers more or whatever, the pressure rate. Jared Verse is not making an impact, and I'll keep it real one more time. They might have lost. Sorry, I gotta get my tenses right. They probably would have lost that game if Jimmy Horn Jr. didn't drop the ball. This felt like a game with the team with the ball last was going to come out in advance, and Bryce Young, not Byron Young, Bryce Young was going to probably get a game-winning drive. And look at his track record. He has the most game-winning drives in football the last 2 or 3 years. So if it wasn't for that drop on
all
fourth
his
down,
wins, I think, are comeback wins, Gilbert.
yeah.
Like,
So
yeah,
they caught a
yeah.
break there. So I get it. It's bad. It's ugly. Just be happy you survived. You survived the bad matchup.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think that was my biggest takeaway. Is like, I mean, it's about style, and for some reason, the Carolina Panthers were a bad style matchup for this Rams team, and the fact that you just won, just at this point, it doesn't matter how you win. You just move on, especially going on the road. I even forgot, and that's on me, Gilbert. I ended up texting this earlier in our group chat. Was I totally forgot that there's been 3 instances in the playoffs, Gilbert, where the home team was a home dog for of more than 7 points. In all 3 matchups, they 2 of them the team lost. One of them was a T-Bowl game. Another one was the Rams in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. And then the one that covered was Tom Brady with the Bucks against the Washington Commanders. And so it just tells you, like, sometimes when you have a big spread like this, it can equal problems for the road team. So at this point, honestly, you're gonna get, and everybody's talking about this. Like, every championship team gets tested early in the playoffs, and you just need to get through. And so we'll see what happens from now on. But I thought, the fact that you had issues on all 3 faces of the of your team, and you still found a way to win. That is huge for me, and it says a lot. Like you said, as long as you have McVay and Stafford, you're gonna have a chance to win games. The other thing, Gilbert, and this will be my last thing, and I'll turn it over to you, is the fact that this team doesn't get blown out. Like, the stat that, like, stayed with me during the commentary between Joe Davis and Greg Olsen is the fact that in their losses, their 5 losses are by a combined 17 points. That just tells you that how good of a team they've been all season, that they haven't been blown out.
Yeah, I think that's a credit to the offense. And, again, that's kind of my big picture takeaway of this game. Where, like, I'm pulling my hair at this second there. I'm pulling my hair at this overrated front. But, and thinking, why is Lesney just investing pretty much, 85% of the resources into the offense? Is because when you have an offense that can score like that, and then, you combine it with McVay's creativity, and you also have enough pass rushers to help you out. Like, maybe, like, you're not gonna win every game, but like you mentioned, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be in a close game because they have all those weapons offensively. Like, it's insane to me that they have 4 tight ends when the most of the league has what, 2? Maybe they have 3 on the 53-man roster. Like, they have something that works for them, and I'm telling you, Vic, the second that Stafford gets old or the Rams go with a young quarterback, they're gonna even out the roster. It's gonna be more corners, more linebackers because you can't go all in on an offense when you don't know what you're gonna have at a quarterback position. Stafford's capable of
Right.
doing that, and he's capable of making everybody work and making everybody, eat in the offense. So that is the one big benefit. And I've been talking about this too, Vic, where I think the defenses are a step ahead of the offense, but there's just one juggernaut out there offensively, and it's the Rams. Like, I'll take the Rams offense over Josh Allen's Bills, or even teams that are coming up like the Jaguars offense. Like, they're that dangerous. So I know it's ugly. We're trying to find some positives here. Again, I'm all for crapping on the game plan from Sean McVay offensively. I just don't understand why you really attack those cornerbacks instead of going more running game, more tight ends. But you're gonna have a chance because Stafford is gonna be on the field. And yeah, they survived this one. It was a tough one. It was a bad game, and I'll even call myself out. I expected the Rams to
Same.
blow out this team twice, and they came out 1-1, 2 close games. But at some point, you got to accept it's just a bad matchup. This team, is just very familiar with the Rams, and that's the thing. That's the thing about the NFL. It's full of surprises. You never know who's going to be beaten in any game on Sunday. But when you have 2 sample sizes now of 2 close games here, it just tells you that the Panthers just know how to pick apart the weaknesses. And like you mentioned, Vic, maybe the next game is a game where Chris Shula, balls out and he shows a great game plan. But today just wasn't it, and it almost doomed them. I was ready to call out Leslie for being cheap here. I think it's now 3 years in a row where they have the cheapest defense in football. But
Yep.
I'll take a victory lap here. I was right. This secondary is not good, and people try to tell me like they're better than what you're saying, and no, they're not good. But at least they're being protected with a good offense, and that's why you're correct, Vic. They're going to be in close games, which is good in the playoffs. Like, if we want to focus on more positive, Mavis made that 42-yard field goal, and when you're in a close game and you don't trust your kicker and you don't trust your special teams, they didn't blow it today.
Yeah, and I mean, to ESGs, it looks like it's gonna be Packers are gonna beat the Bears, and then he's like, we ain't facing Seattle on the second round.
Ah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
so like now you're just waiting to see. You're either gonna you're gonna have to go on the road again and take on another team that beat you, or I mean, either way, it's gonna be one of those teams that beat you. It's either gonna be the
Hey,
49ers or the
yeah.
Eagles at this point.
We might get
So
49ers Rams at SoFi if the
yeah,
49ers win.
yeah, so it's gonna be the revenge tour here where you get to
That'd be
avenge
funny.
all your losses here, it's looking like. So, maybe it's the Texans, or no, they beat the Texans, so I don't know who they lost to in the AFC. I'm trying to think if they lost to anybody in the AFC. I think they were all NFC losses, right? It was Atlanta, uh,
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah,
was
you're
all
right.
NFC, the 49ers, Seattle.
Seahawks.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all
so
NFC.
there you go.
So hey, if you get to the AFC, sorry, Super Bowl showdown against an AFC team, then that means you're looking good. But you're right, Vic. Just win ugly, survive in advance, and you don't know how the playoffs format is going to turn out. Maybe you get the 49ers. Maybe you get, uh, I don't know, the Eagles. I'm losing track of what here. But if the Packers hold on, that pretty much tells you it's going to be between the Eagles and the 49ers.
How much time do we have with you here, Gilbert, before we move on here? I just want to get a
Yeah,
gauge
it's
here.
still half time, so we got time.
Okay, cool. And it's crazy. You were talking about Sean McVay now. That now he's made it to the division round 5 times in 9 seasons. Only the Chiefs have made it more often in that span, Gilbert. And then one more thing on Sean McVay, he has won 9 playoff games in 9 seasons as the Rams. That's the same number this team has won in the previous 33 seasons. So Sean McVay has made an impact here with the Rams, and so I know there's been, talk about him perhaps, leaving or whatever, but I mean the what he's done for this franchise has been incredible. Matthew Stafford at 37 years old, Gilbert, he's the sixth oldest player with 300 yards, 3 touchdowns in a playoff game, joining Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Kurt Warner, as the other ones who were older than him. So that's pretty cool. And then Matthew Stafford set the franchise record with 16 touchdown passes in the postseason, more than any other quarterback in team history. He added
Wow.
two more, so now he's got 18. So he's in sole possession of the record, and so I mean, just incredible. The other thing I forgot to add here, Gilbert, that we didn't talk about, that was a big bugaboo in this game for the Rams: penalties. Man, nine
Oh yeah.
penalties for 83 yards. I mean, you, like I said, you have issues on all three phases, and you lose the penalty battle, and you still win. That just tells you, how you just take the win and you move on at this point.
Yeah, that was definitely another maybe unforeseen error because they were the best team in football, right? When it comes to being penalized, they didn't have a lot
Yep.
of
Yeah, they were
penalties.
the least penalized team
Yeah.
in the NFL this season.
So that tells you a lot, and it was just a rough game, a confusing game. Adjustments were needed, and again, if you want to crap on McVay's game plan offensively, I'm all for it. I did not understand that. I get that you have Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, two stud wide receivers, but the reason why they were the best offense in football because they had so many guys who were able to contribute, and they did in the fourth quarter. Came alive, Parkinson's came alive. So hopefully McVay sees that and reminds him, so okay, you can't just keep going with the big guns. You got to trust everybody. But uh, yeah, it was just a tricky game here, and I know for a lot of people in the comments and you're watching, it's a frustrating game, and some people just overlook the secondary and they focus more on the record and they focus more like, hey, the Rams are winning. And then when it comes to a primetime playoff game, it's like, hey, what the hell happened? Like, we've been screaming all along. This secondary is not good. So, like, maybe for you and I, we're not surprised by it. Like, to me, it's like, yeah, it was more of a reminder, like they can overcome any type of game because of the offense. They can overcome mistake-filled games because you have Stafford. And the second that Bryce Young threw that, like that touchdown pass to Coker, and there was 2:38 left on the clock, I knew that was too much time. That was a lot of time for Stafford. I've been watching football for too long to know that is way too much time for a quarterback. And
Yep.
then when they scored with 38 seconds left, I thought, oh, with a field goal game, that might be enough for Bryce Young. Like, that's the funny thing about football. Like, when it comes out to the final 3 minutes, it feels like a whole nother game there. So uh they caught a break with the drop pass from Jimmy Horn Jr., who probably feels sick. That was a good enough pass, I thought, from Bryce Young. But hey, you survive in advance, and to me, I'm not gonna harp on something I already knew. The secondary has for throughout the whole season has told me they're bad. I get it. Quentin Lake came back and it should be better, but he's just one person. It requires a whole secondary to build. Same thing with Nate Landman. Like Nate Landman and Lake are good, but he needs more help out there, and you can't do it with two guys. And you have a back end of the defense that's just weak. And then also keep in mind the front. That should be the real person, the real culprit here. The front needs to help out. They were given, or the Rams gave that unit first round pick, second round pick, third round pick to mask the issues in the secondary. That's why they don't spend money in the secondary or linebacker, because they went all in on the front and they didn't come through. So hey, honestly, instead of being mad at Quentin Lake or Nate Landman, be mad at Chris Shula and be mad at the pass rushers, because they were nowhere to be found. I know Fisk got a sack there. Maybe it was early on, but overall, man, I don't know what's up with the front. That's my biggest concern here. I already know the secondary is going to get carved up, but the front needs to do something.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I don't know what Chris Shula waited till the fourth quarter to start blitzing. I'm like, why aren't you blitzing more? Why are you bringing pressure? Like, one of the things that Bryce Young struggles with is pressure
Yeah,
up the middle, and like you're letting him just carve your secondary apart. And so I'm just like, why are you waiting to press? And he finally started blitzing, especially on that last drive, and I'm like, I think part of it was the fact that he lost Akilo Witherspoon. The other thing too, Gilbert, that I was a bit surprised. I don't know if you caught this, but like two of their corners, Darius Williams, were inactive. Why? Like, I'm sorry. Like, the whole season they've had their third running back, fourth running back. He's been inactive. He was active in this game. I'm like, you have to make sure you have more guys out there, especially in a crucial game like that. At one point, Akilo Witherspoon was out, and so was what's his name? Number one. Why am I the other corner? And then they kept moving
or
them around. I thought I did like the fact that they started moving their corners around. that really helped because some of them were getting beat on the outside. But and then Quinn Lane getting beat, he just came back. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, he's rusty. He's gonna get beat. So, and this, like I said, again, this was just a bad matchup. So I want to see what happens with in the next game. It'll be interesting, especially if it's the Eagles. Offensively, we know what to expect from the Eagles. And then same thing with the 49ers. So I know a lot of Rams fans are going to be glued to that game tomorrow between the Eagles and the 49ers.
Yeah, so you never know with this Bears game here, but
Yep.
it's not looking good. 21-3, and I think you picked the Packers, so it's looking good for
Yep.
you, Vic. But
Yeah, and I just want to remind everybody, if we didn't get to your comments, come join us. We're gonna have another post game show after this Bears Packers. It'll be more on pretty much the whole day today between the two matchups that we saw today. So join us for that, and we'll get to your comments. There is just Gilbert's got to get back to writing and for Sports Illustrated, but we wanted to at least give you guys a post game show here, and I really appreciate everybody. Cardney, we have ESG, we had Don who kicked it off here. I wanted to share his comment here, Gilbert, because he got things. So did Angel. He said, not a Rams fan, but man, what an effing game. And
yeah,
then Don said Parkinson saved the game, but poor play calling, bad special teams, horrible secondary, almost lost the Rams this game. So look, this is from a Rams fan telling you, analyzing how it went today for the Rams. So like I said, join us after the game, after the Packers and Bears game. It'll be on here on this same channel. It'll just have Combas on the beat, but we'll talk about both games, the Bears, Packers, and this Rams and Panthers game, Gilbert.
yeah. Before I said goodbye here, I want to say a comment that you started the show with because I don't want to go without bringing it up. You're right. Puka Nacua saved the game here. Puka Nacua had the pass break there in the end zone. The game probably would have been over at that point if he got that interception there. So, hey, the best DB on the Rams might be Puka Nacua. So, yeah,
Yeah.
funny joke there for me to end the show. But it's time to get going. Nos vamos, pues. Vámonos.